Stephen Krashen input hypothesis. Now he speaks about the language acquisition. According to him, language acquisition is more powerful than language learning. Now he thinks that learners are able to acquire language only by understanding language containing linguistic features one step beyond their present level of knowledge or comprehensible input. For him, language acquisition is more powerful and essential than language learning, and the only one way to acquire language is to be exposed to comprehensible input. Second language or foreign language teaching, learners develop their fluency by first learning structures, that is, learning the rules and regulations of the grammar, and then by practicing the structures they develop the communication. That is the normal structure or normal formula of learning a language. But in his case, language learning and is a different. That is, he is convinced that learners acquire language by understanding meaning first, then acquiring structures. It is not necessary that we learn structures first, but it is necessary and it is must that we must understand the meaning of the language first, and then we will be able to learn the language easily. And he believed that, and he is stating the same thing. Now let us see the input hypothesis. Now the first one is the input hypothesis is connected to acquisition of language and not the learning. Now the second point is that learners acquire by understanding language containing linguistic features one step beyond their present level of knowledge. The third point is that the comprehensible input is automatically provided if the acquirer understands the input. The fourth point is that the fluency in speaking cannot be taught directly. It emerges over a period of time on its own, which means here the practice is must to get the fluency in language. He further developed his idea by presenting evidence supporting the hypothesis. The first one is the first language acquisition in children. Here the most important thing is that in language, communication and conveying the message to children is important rather than the teaching of language. Children learn the language through conversation. Parents, adults and others use the language, and children hear the same language and repeat the same language. Here, important is conveying the message and understanding the message. Second language acquisition also takes place in the classroom as the teacher speaks the language and explains the language to the children, and they learn in the classroom. The silent period and the first language inference. In silent period, child tries to listen and understand the language and then try to utter the language or produce the same language. But however, they make so many mistakes and so many errors in language, that is just because they do not know the rules and regulations of the grammar of that particular second language. Advantage and disadvantages of the first language rule use. Now, the use of the first language rules allows the learners to produce the utterances even though their competence in second language is not adequate for production. That means, since they have the first language, they try to understand the second language by using the first language. So therefore, the first language is an advantage. But still, there is a disadvantage if the first language is completely used in the second language place. Lastly, he is stating that we have to use the newer methods which focus on meaning and not on the form, because meaning is important, not the form is important to learn the language.